歡迎各位觀眾收睇呢一集嘅週一長談，我係你哋節目主持人梁英年。今日想同大家咧關注一下聯邦嘅議題，因為咧國會已經復會啦，裏邊咧嗰個你嚟一球，我又接一球，呢個咁樣嘅攻同埋守，即係保守黨就係呢個官式嘅反對黨，而家執政黨嘅咧就係聯邦嘅自由黨㗎。咁所以大家咧可能好有興趣咧，知道而家喺個國會裏邊，大家係關心緊一啲乜嘢嘅議題㗎。嗱喺政府方面咧就推出咗一系列嘅法案，就準備要通過嘅。咁主打應該係加拿大嘅經濟，但係咧原來加拿大而家嗰個嘅治安同埋整個嘅法治系統咧都出現咗好多嘅問題嘅，特別係喺反對黨方面咧，反對黨保守黨咧係提出咗好多有關於治安一啲嘅法案嘅。咁今日請嚟一位咧係唔係用咗好耐嘅國會議員咧，就唔係喺我哋加西呢邊嘅，就喺加東嗰邊嘅，就係屬於喺大多倫多地區 Richmond Hill South 嘅聯邦國會議員，係阿 Vincent 何樂軒嘅。歡迎你 Vincent。
大家好，我名係何樂軒 Vincent， 我係保守黨嘅國會議員喺列治文山南嘅選區。
嗱，我頭先咧同大家解釋咗啦，政府即係執政嘅嗰個黨派咧，佢會提出一系列嘅法案嘅。喺政府提出嘅法案咧，就通常咧就係用一啲 C 1、2、3、4咁樣咧嚟去定一啲政府法案嘅。咁但係咧喺反對黨方面咧，或者係其他嘅國會議員咧，唔係喺政府嗰邊咧，佢哋都可以提出一啲嘅法案嘅喎。嗱，嗰啲咧就叫做私人法案嘅。喂，不如同大家講下啦，因為保守黨咧近排出咗好多嘅消息咧，就話政府即係而家嘅執政自由黨咧，就有一條法案叫 C2 嘅法案咧，就想攞更多嘅權力。你哋覺得唔係幾好喎？可唔可以同大家好簡單咁講，即係政府呢條法案點樣影響到喺加拿大嘅所有人咧？
我用英文嚟答啊。
好啊。
So the last 10 years, we have seen a liberal government that has unleashed a crime wave onto our country by introducing Bill C5, C75 in the liberal in the previous parliament sessions, majority sessions, which have effectively brought in this so-called catch and release bail, which lets repeat offenders steal cars and break in and commit all kinds of crimes and get automatic bail, usually within a few hours of getting arrested. And they also took away mandatory prison time for a number of offenses, including offenses related to gun crime. So the Liberals have decided to table this bill called C2 in this parliamentary session in 2025. And it's supposed to be addressing making our borders stronger. It's called the Stronger Borders Act. Mm-hmm. But it's a bit of a joke because it does nothing about all the problems that they've created. I mean, Canadians want to secure the border. They do want stronger borders. And why is that? It's because they care about public safety. Public safety is the heart of the issue, and public safety again has deteriorated over the last 10 years because of all the soft on crime policies that the Liberals have passed in the last 10 years. So, for example, Bill C2 doesn't do anything about introducing mandatory prison time for fentanyl traffickers. We know there's a fentanyl crisis, an opioid crisis in this country. Over 50,000 people have died in the last 10 years from opioid overdoses, which is a greater death toll than the Second World War. We're seeing 20, 30 people dying a day from fentanyl overdose. And so it's a problem that's not just affecting the people who are passing away, but their families, their communities, and it's putting a strain on all the resources that go into this problem. Bill C2 also, this Liberal government's Bill C2 makes no mention about mandatory prison time for gun crime, for gangsters who are committing gun crime. You know, I talk to the police occasionally, and at least in the York region, so the Greater Toronto area, catching a criminal with a gun is very rare. It's like it maybe happens once or twice a month, like 10 years ago. Now, it's almost every day that they catch criminals with guns or gun crimes have been committed, or even they do a routine traffic stop and they find a gun. So it's become a very regular occurrence because again, the Liberals took away mandatory prison time. It used to be if you committed a crime with a gun, there was mandatory prison time, but the Liberals took that away. This bill C2 also makes no mention about house arrest. We know now house arrest is something that is available for judges to give on things to sentence, or for things like auto theft and break-ins and all that. And again, the Liberals have taken the mandatory prison time away, so now judges are able to give very minimal sentences because they're following what the Liberals have put forth.
嗱，我諗有一個咧好大嘅分別咧，就係而家嘅執政嘅自由黨同埋以往執政嘅保守黨，因為我記得咧喺保守黨執政嘅時候咧，佢哋定咗一啲嘅法案咧，某一啲嘅罪咧係規定法官喺判案嘅時候咧係要最少將佢哋監禁嘅，即係話佢要離開可以再繼續去傷害我哋社區嘅一個嘅地方，就喺個監獄嘅裏邊嘅。但係當自由黨上場嘅時候咧，喺過去嗰10年咧，佢將前朝保守黨所定嗰啲嘅必定要最少係監禁呢種咁樣嘅決定咧，係取消咗嘅，而且仲指示嗰啲法官咧，係盡量用一啲其他嘅刑法嚟代替，譬如頭先你所講嘅 house arrest， 即係家居軟禁，甚至咧就話你都唔需要坐監啦，你做一啲嘅社會服務啦，或者咧係另類嘅去處理嘅，特別咧係關於個販毒啦同埋槍械啦，頭先你都講咗啦。以往喺保守黨嘅時候，你如果揸槍去犯罪，一定要坐監；你去販毒嘅，你要去坐監。但係而家唔係啦，已經係改變晒啦。嗱，你點解會係咁樣諗嘅咧？因為我哋大家都知道嘅，作奸犯科嘅人係傷害緊我哋嘅社會，傷害緊我哋嘅國民，應該係有一定嘅懲罰嘅。但係自由黨就覺得唔係喎，呢啲人咧都應該可以繼續喺社區嗰度去生活嘅。一個咁樣嘅情況底下，作為一個嘅反對黨，而家你哋有機會去提出一啲嘅去修正嘅時候，你哋做咗啲乜嘢咧？
The Liberals have brought in this catch and release and taken away mandatory prison time, which has created a loophole in the system. So if you're a criminal, if you notice now, criminals aren't committing crimes at night with a face mask on. They are doing it on broad daylight. They're stealing cars, they're breaking in, they're shooting people up with in broad daylight. They don't care if they're caught on camera because they know that the next day they will be released on bail under the Liberal catch and release. So they know the system and they know that they'll get released. And then eventually they get arrested and eventually they have a trial date a couple years down the road. So they have their due process, and then they get convicted of their crime. Now, when it comes to sentencing that crime, you would expect them to go to prison, but there is no prison time for mandatory minimum prison time. So judges sometimes give the lowest, which is house arrest as the punishment. So the Liberals know that this is the loophole that the Liberals have created. So the criminals are now, they don't care. They made this into a career. So now you're seeing a lot more career criminals that are committing crimes over and over again because they know they can automatically get released if they get arrested. And then once they get convicted, they get house arrest. And they don't care about the criminal record because they're career criminals. It's not like
what are the conservatives proposing? 佢哋而家提議應該點做咧?
So I'm getting to that. And so in order to do that, we want to bring the Jail Not Bail Act. So and that is going to bring, people always ask us what are we going to do? We're going to bring the Jail Not Bail Act. And so the first thing is about this element of this law is the principle of restraint, is that the Liberals have made that, the criminal is the center focus when the judge determines whether a criminal gets bail. We want to make sure that the public safety is the primary consideration. So that would, again, help make sure that some of the most hardened criminals stay in jail. Number two, we want to create this called major offenses category, things like firearms, crime, sexual assaults, kidnapping, human trafficking, home invasion, robbery, extortion, arson, and assault charges. We want to categorize those as which puts as a major offense. And then we want to then put a reverse onus on this, so that the accused has to prove that why they should be released on those crimes, rather than having the prosecutor prove that they shouldn't be released. So it puts the onus back on the accused, which would help make sure that some of the worst offenders are going to stay in jail. We're also going to strengthen the bail laws by mandating that judges consider the full criminal history. So if someone has already been arrested multiple times, or if they've been convicted multiple times. So when they've been convicted, it means that they've gone through the due process. They've had a trial. They were sentenced by a judge previously. So if they have a full criminal history, we review the full criminal history, then the judge knows that this is going to be a repeat offender. They've already been convicted of the same crime multiple times. So we're going to make sure that the full criminal history is going to be reviewed by the judge. And lastly, we're going to make sure that anyone who's had an indictable conviction will not be able to act as a guarantor, which this will require the judges to enforce the bail conditions on guarantors and require that non-residents surrender their passports upon request. So again, this is not a loophole that the criminals are using to give themselves bail. So this is something that the Conservatives, our party, is putting forth, because we have seen crime skyrocket in the last 10 years. We've seen violent crime up 55%, gun crime is up 130%, and extortion is up 330%. And this is our way of taking action on this crime wave that the Liberals have unleashed. And it's funny because yesterday we had this motion, conservative motion, to put forth this 3 strikes and you're out law, which the Liberals have voted down. So we could talk a bit about that too, about the 3 strikes and you're out law, which basically says that anyone who's been convicted of 3 serious offenses, they'll be in jail for at least 10 years. Which again sounds like it's common sense, but the Liberals, no, it did not pass. The Liberals voted it down. Oh. And again, we're not trying to say like lock up people. Like the Liberals always say, you're just trying to lock people up before they have their fair trial. We're talking about repeat offenders. We're not talking about a kid stealing a candy bar from a convenience store. We're talking about serious offenses like gun crime, like home invasions, like car thefts. These are serious crimes. And they've already been convicted 3 times. So they're, a repeat offender. And we're proposing that those people be locked up for 10 years. And the Liberals have voted it down. And so this is something that we think is common sense, but it seems like the Liberals have no interest in combating the crime wave that we've experienced.
Vincent 頭先你提到咧，有一點咧好緊要就係我哋喺現時嘅加拿大刑法嘅裏邊咧。喺法官判刑或者係申請保釋嘅時候咧，嗰個嘅責任好似係喺政府嗰邊嘅。我哋要證明嗰個嘅疑犯或者嗰個嘅罪犯咧，佢係會繼續傷害社會，我哋先至可以將佢鎖入個監獄裏邊，或者就唔俾佢保釋嘅。而家你所提出嘅咧，好似將嗰個責任咧就歸翻去嗰個犯事嘅人嗰度，佢哋要證明點解要俾佢保釋。咁呢個會唔會喺整個加拿大嗰個刑法裏邊咧，係一個根本要去改變，而唔單止話喺嗰個表面上去定一條嘅法例出嚟咧
？Yeah, and we're talking about the major offenses, so things like firearm crimes, sexual assaults, kidnapping, human trafficking, home invasions, robberies, extortion, arson, and assault charges. So when it comes to those crimes, we're asking the accused to prove why they should be let out on bail. So there's in the due process, they're still given the chance to prove that they should be released. But right now, what we've seen is this automatic bail system that just the practical reality is that it's almost it's basically automatic that they get.
即係而家嗰個 bail and release， 即係話咧，罪犯自然就係會得到個嘅保釋出嚟㗎啦，就唔係咧要佢去證明佢唔會傷害社會先至可以保釋出嚟嘅。所以呢個係一個好重大嘅改變。頭先你亦都提到另外一點㗎，我哋喺加拿大咧成日都話呢個 criminal justice system 係刑事公正嘅法一個咁樣嘅大環境底下。但係頭先你提到一點咧好重要嘅，其實每一次嘅犯案嘅當中咧， 都有啲嘅受害人 victims。而家我哋嗰個嘅法治嘅焦點係擺晒喺嗰個犯事嗰個人嗰度，其實好多時我哋都唔會提到原來係有受害者嘅喎。咁頭先你提到有一點咧，就話我哋應該將整個嘅加拿大刑事司法系統咧嗰個嘅焦點唔好淨係擺咗喺嗰個犯罪嘅人身上，亦都要擺喺嗰個俾人哋侵犯咗嘅人嘅身上嘅。其實呢一點作為保守黨反對黨咧，佢哋係咪要將嗰個嘅法治多啲去關心嗰個被傷害嘅人，特別喺啲嚴重嘅罪案，受傷害嗰個人可能唔單止一次被傷害啊，喺個刑法整個審訊過程監禁假釋繼續再受傷害咧。
That's right. We want to protect the victims. And when you are a victim of a home invasion or car theft or a shooting, it traumatizes you for life. And then you call the police, and the police sometimes, or arrest them. And then just to see them get released the next day is just unfair. It re-traumatizes the victim because the criminal is now back in the community making crimes. We have seen the same criminals rob the same house multiple times, so within a short period of time, because they were out on bail and then they went back to they were arrested by the police. Again, the police are doing their jobs. The Liberals like to point their finger at the province or the municipalities. No, the police are doing their jobs the best they can to arrest these people. But the problem is they get released on bail by a provincial court judge, which is following the federal guidelines. So the Liberals like to point their finger at the province. Well, that's actually just completely untrue. They're following the federal guidelines. And so we want to prioritize victims and protect victims and protect the community. So that's why one of the elements of our Jail Not Bail Act is to make sure public safety is one of the core elements that the judge needs to consider and whether to release the accused, rather than focusing all about what the accused's rights are, because we have seen the system get abused. The career criminals are taking advantage of it, and they're making a career out of crime.
嗱，頭先你講得好好嘅就係，我哋經常都係提到咧，犯事嗰個人佢有權利嘅，呢個 criminal 有 right， 但係嗰個 victim 嘅 right 喺邊度咧？我哋真係好少聽到嘅。咁而家即係你哋提出應該喺個刑法整個司法系統裏邊咧，我哋擺翻個 victims 嘅 right 嗰度。其實關於我哋嗰個嘅希望改造嗰啲嘅犯人啦 correction service 啊，我哋唔係叫 jail service， 係叫 correction service 嘅。咁其實喺關於已經係判咗刑坐咗監嘅人去申請假釋咧，其實呢一點咧，我哋好多時都會話嘅，有冇搞錯啊？嗰班負責判決嘅點會俾一個咁樣嘅罪犯可以得到假釋？佢仍然係有危險嘅喎。咁以前俾佢傷害過，甚至係殺人嘅嗰啲嘅家人，聽到一個罪犯坐咗監坐咗一段嘅時間，未曾坐滿嘅，可以假釋出嚟嘅。每一次嗰個家人都要被拉去，又要再去講翻一次嗰啲嘅理由。其實會唔會係對嗰個受害者頭先你所講嘅冇諗到佢哋會繼續再受傷害，佢哋嗰種嘅擔憂係會幾嚴重嘅咧
？That's precisely it. It's that we need to focus on making sure the criminals are locked up and that justice is served and that they don't recriminalize, because a large share of the crimes are committed by repeat offenders, whether before they're convicted, they keep getting released on bail, and then after they're convicted, because there's no real punishments, there's no mandatory prison time, they just go ahead and continue doing the same crimes over and over again because there's no punishments. The criminals are going to act in their best self-interests, and if they know that they can get away with it, they're going to keep doing bad things. And that's also one of the things that we want to bring up is another bill that the Conservatives are trying to put forth as to amend the Corrections and Conditional Release Act. So you saw the Paul Bernardo was released from a maximum security prison and transferred to a medium security prison. So that really shocked the whole country. Because the whole country thought that he's one of the worst, most heinous criminals out there, and he should stay in maximum security prison. So our new bill is we're gonna try to make sure that people like Paul Bernardo would stay in maximum security prison. And the Liberals knew that. They knew that he was getting transferred, but they did nothing about it and was okay with him being transferred to a lighter restrictive environment. So right now, the Liberals have brought in this least restrictive environment as the test for determining whether criminals stay in maximum security prisons. So we're going to change the language to necessary restrictions. We trust the judges to make that call to say that this is the necessary restrictions. But the problem is the Liberals are not have tied the hands of the judges because they say it doesn't matter what the judge thinks about this criminal. It's just the least restrictive environment. So everything they do from bail to corrections and conditional release to prison time, they have always sided with the least restrictive. So they're tying the hands of judges, they're tying the hands of police officers, and they're tying the hands of prosecutors. So we want to make sure that the focus is making sure that criminals don't reoffend and that they stay behind bars, and so that the victims can live in peace.
我知道 Vincent 你係一個律師出身嘅，所以你對於呢啲字咧就係好留意嘅。The least restrictive 同呢個 necessary 咧，如果喺個法例裏邊寫入去咧，呢個分別咧就係好大嘅。如果你睇到嗰個政府去立一條法例咧，去用呢個咁樣嘅 least restrictive 咧，其實就即係綁住咗個法官嘅隻手，喺佢判刑嘅時候咧，佢冇辦法咧係將嗰個嘅罪犯咧係放入去監獄裏邊，或者咧係俾佢有更多一啲嘅限制，而係要俾最少嘅限制一個嘅罪犯，呢個就係嗰個分別嘅。但係有一點咧，而家嗰個政治現實咧就係保守黨喺國會裏邊咧係一個官式嘅反對黨。你冇辦法係通過任何嘅法例嘅，只要執政黨反對。但係其他嗰啲嘅反對嘅聲音喺個國會裏邊咧，似乎亦都唔係企喺保守黨呢邊㗎啦。你諗下，新民主黨都唔成一個黨啦，佢有幾個嘅議員喺度啦，但係佢哋唔會企喺你哋嗰邊係嚴刑峻法嘅，佢反而咧可能比自由黨係更加嘅寬鬆嘅。灰人政團亦都唔會係企喺你哋咁，你哋嗰個嘅策略，每一次提出一啲嘅私人法案喺嗰個國會裏邊。其實只不過係一種嘅宣傳自己個黨嘅啫喎，事實上係冇辦法可以通過任何嘅法例嘅，因為呢啲其他嘅反對黨，甚至係獨立嘅人咧，都唔會企喺你哋嗰邊。咁你哋嘅策略係點樣可以真正係做到呢啲事，去幫助加拿大人有一個更安全嘅社會咧？
Well, we're going to continue proposing bills that would keep Canadians safe. That's what we were elected to do. We are elected 144. Conservative MPs were elected, a very large opposition. So we're going to continue proposing the bills, and what the other parties do when they vote it down, they're going to have to face an election eventually, and that will be determined at the ballot box. So just because we don't have a majority or we're not in government doesn't mean we don't try to propose the bills that Canadians want. These are not just bills that we thought of. We spent the whole summer, many of our caucus members, all of us really, on listening to Canadians, talking to police associations, talking to police chiefs, talking to prosecutors, talking to legal professionals about what can be done to fix it. So we have really put a lot of thought into the legislation we're proposing. It's not an advertisement by any means. It is real legislation that, if passed, could have a very a positive effect on our justice system. But we're going to continue to do the work that the Liberals didn't do in order to fight for the victims, fight for our communities, and we'll let the voters decide in the next election.
我想講下就係啱啱喺過去呢個星期咧，喺 BC 省呢一邊咧，我哋有一個市鎮聯盟 ，is a union of all the municipalities. They had a big meeting. 佢哋首要嘅問題咧，就係喺佢哋個市裏邊嗰個嘅治安，因為喺個市裏邊嗰啲嘅商業咧，由於喺個街道上邊嗰啲嘅無法無天嘅行為咧，越嚟越嚴重。走入個店鋪裏邊嘅偷竊，甚至咧係明目張膽，好似你所講嘅，佢唔怕俾個攝影機影到㗎，因為佢知道咧，就算有警察嚟捉咗佢咧，轉個彎佢又出翻嚟，可以繼續去犯案，已成為咗一種嘅慣性嘅罪犯，呢個 career criminal， 由細到大都係做一啲咁嘅事，而喺我哋嘅法律制度裏邊咧，好似係奈佢唔何嘅。市鎮聯盟第一個最主要嘅議題咧就係要呢樣嘢。 但係好可惜喺每一次聯邦選舉嘅時候咧，到投票嗰一刻咧，大家仍然係繼續去選翻同一個嘅黨，做翻同樣嘅事，個市面上面一啲改變都冇嘅。咁喺呢個嘅問題上面咧，你而家係當選咗做一個國會議員，咁你有冇覺得喺我哋嘅華人社區裏邊咧，我哋平日咧就係講係要去執法要嚴，要去處理呢啲罪案嘅問題，但係到去選舉嘅時候咧，我哋睇到特別係喺少數族裔聚居嘅城市，譬如華人聚居城市，佢哋到最後咧又係選翻自由黨嘅喎，唔係去選保守黨嘅喎。你係一個好少數能夠係攞到呢個位嘅一個嘅保守黨嘅國會議員。你有冇諗下點解喺華人嘅社區裏邊，我哋講一套，投票嘅時候做另外一套嘅咧？
Well, we're going to continue fighting for Canadians, and the things that we've been doing, putting forth legislation that is going to fix the criminal justice system that the Liberals broke, and exposing the Liberals for all the problems that they've created, is going to help show the public that we are, serious about addressing these problems, and we did have a lot more votes this time. We did get 8 million votes, and so a lot of people who I talked to in my own riding has voted Liberal in the past and has voted Conservative. If you look at my riding, we had I think a 17.8% shift, something like that, and so we did shift a lot. And a lot of ridings did shift towards our party in the last election. So we have more work to do, but we're going to continue to show all Canadians why all the problems that we're seeing today are the fault of the Liberals, and they're the ones who created those problems. And I've even spoken to a lot of people who have never voted before, or maybe only vote once or twice in their entire life, but they decided to vote this time because issues like crime that you discussed are getting so out of control that people's livelihoods are being ruined. Small business owners don't even want to operate anymore, and people are fear living in their own homes when they should feel the safest. So we're going to continue to hold the Liberal government to account and show Canadians who they really are, and show our platform and how we're going to do things differently.
Yeah, thank you. Vincent Ho 何樂軒係新科嘅國會議員，嚟自大多倫多地區 Richmond Hill South。Vincent Ho 大家記住呢個名啦，你係一個好好嘅例子，亦都係一個嘅證明自由黨以前做開嘅嘢係可以改變嘅。你嘅選區已經係一個好好嘅一個嘅例子，可以話俾大家聽。但係我哋需要更多呢啲嘅聲音，更多呢啲咁樣嘅立法係喺公眾嘅面前咧，向佢哋解釋，話俾佢哋聽點解嗰個嘅重要性喺度。其他嗰啲唔支持嘅政黨唔緊要，佢去做佢嘅嘢，佢去拉佢嘅選民。但係如果大家想要有一個 law and order， 一個安全嘅社區嘅話咧，大家可以聽多啲關於 Vincent Ho 解釋呢啲嘅立法嘅原則同埋嗰個背後一啲法律上面嗰個細節嘅重要性嘅。I think we need more advertising regarding law and order。你哋如果能夠有更多嘅機會去到我哋嘅社區、我哋嘅傳媒嗰度去講關於你哋治安立法點去改變法律，翻去過去喺保守黨執政期間嗰個嘅嚴刑峻法，犯罪嘅就應該坐監，唔應該俾佢哋呢頭捉呢頭又放，係繼續傷害個社區嘅。Thank you for your explanation。整個國會裏面而家嗰個嘅 dynamic， 嗰個嘅互動點樣能夠令到公眾更能了解現時執政黨所做嘅，同埋反對黨所發出嘅聲音。希望兩者可以用埋一齊，去令加拿大嘅社會更加安全嘅。Thank you Vincent， 多謝你。
唔該，下次見，
拜拜。